Okay, everybody, welcome to the first ever live podcast. I'm here with a buddy of mine. Tell him your name.
Cartoon Kid 1988 from YouTube.
Or you can just call him Dustin. So, on today's live podcast, we're going to be talking about video games. What was our first video game console when we had since we was a kid, and what are a lot of games that we played back then, and the sixth generation era, seventh generation era, and going on to the eighth generation era of the two brand new consoles that's coming out later on this year. So, Dustin, I'm going to let you start off first. What was your first video game console? What games did you play while you was a child and during your teen years and your early adult years?
Well, when I was a kid growing up, I played TurboGrafx, I played Sega Genesis, I played Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Saturn, PlayStation 1, Dreamcast, PS2, and I played a PS3 currently. And is it okay to talk about handhelds as well?
Sure.
Okay. And the handhelds I grew up playing were Game Boy Advance, but I never played the original Game Boy series. And I have currently a Nintendo 3DS, which I have right here with me. And what else did I play? My favorite Game Boy Advance series of all time is the Game Boy SP. It's way better than the original Game Boy Advance because, in my opinion, the SP is way better because it has a backlit screen in it. The original GBA did not have that.
Yeah.
And my favorite games for the Genesis, my favorite games of all time are Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which is Sonic 3 and Sonic Knuckles combined together into one game, which makes the complete version of Sonic 3. And what else? I played Mario, I played Pac-Man, I played Space Invaders, I played Dragon Ball, Street Fighter, and among other all-time greats. And when I was in high school, in my teen years, a buddy of mine got me started on wrestling games. For example, WWE SmackDown vs. Raw series. Now, my favorite one of all time was WWE Legends of WrestleMania because it goes back to the golden era. It doesn't focus on attitude, ruthless aggression, or anything like that. It focuses on the golden era only. You know, it has Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, among other wrestling legends. And the real reason why I'm quitting playing wrestling games today, because, hey, Flowwood, are you familiar with WWE 12 and 13?
Yeah, I heard about it. I've seen a lot of footages on YouTube, gameplay, trailers, and highlight reels, but I never played neither of them. Not WWE 12 nor WWE 13.
Dude, you should never, ever play 12 and 13. They are a piece of shit. And what I mean by that is, remember in the old wrestling games you can use health recovery to recover limb damage from your creative wrestlers and regular in-game wrestlers and divas, you know? Well, apparently, it won't let you do that in 12 and 13. It will not let you heal up damage. You just get the crap beat out of in 12 and 13. And the one thing about 13 was the server on there is a piece of crap. It won't let you search for ranked matches specifically online. You gotta search randomly, and that's dumb.
Well, I never even know that. I mean, the last WWE game that I played was WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, and after that I got bored. To talk about the video games that I played since I was a child, like the first console that I had, like before I was born, my older brother had the Nintendo. Then right after I was born, my family bought us a Super Nintendo, then the Sega Genesis. We only bought like a few games for the Super Nintendo, and for the Sega Genesis, and most of the times we would be basically rent the games for those two consoles. You know, we have Super Mario World, Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2, but we was only renting games such as Mega Man X, Mega Man X2, 3, Mega Man 7, Killer Instinct, F Zero. For the Genesis, we would have eventually had Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic and Knuckles. We never bought in Sonic 3. I don't know why we wouldn't bought Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but we rented Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and combined it with Sonic and Knuckles and everything. And that was one of me and my brother's favorite games on the Sega Genesis. We bought Vector Man. We rent Vector Man. What else? We would have rent. We would have been renting Toy Story for the Sega Genesis. We would have just constantly rented on the Sega Genesis, but we once did.
Toy Story sucked. Toy Story sucked on the Genesis.
Yes, and we
I like the movies a lot better.
Yeah, we would eventually rent it once on the Super Nintendo. We rented it once. We rented Kirby Superstar, Super Mario All Stars. What else? Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, Sonic 3D Blast. We would have just been basically renting a lot of games for the Super Nintendo and Genesis. But then when we would eventually buy a Sega Saturn as well, we bought Virtual Fighter, Virtual Fighter 2. We was renting a few games for the Sega Saturn, like Virtual Cop, Virtual Cop 2, I think. The game with the key, I forgot what the name of that key called. We would have been Sega Rally Championship, was Street Fighter, the movie from 1994, and what else?
You mean the live action movie Street Fighter has Jean-Claude Van Damme in it? That movie sucks. They look nothing like their vegan counterparts.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And that's all pretty much I can remember to buy with the games we rented for the Sega Saturn. Then once the fifth generation consoles comes out, like the N60, the Nintendo 64, we didn't have the PlayStation back then, but we ended eventually to get a PlayStation into like in the late 2002. And when we eventually bought an N64, we would buy games like Diddy Kong Racing, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. We had basically a lot of games that we rented for the N64. Like we rented only a few games for the N64, like Star Fox 64, Yoshi's Story, Mario Kart 64. And WCW versus NWO World Tour. We would eventually later buy those two games in the mid of summer of 1998. And the last game that we rented for the N64, and that was the last time that we would ever rent games in our lives, was 1080 Snowboarding, which I hated that game. I wasn't really into snowboarding or anything like that, But that was our last time renting games until later on we would eventually buy games. Like we bought games like Super Smash Brothers. We bought like Super Mario 64. We bought WCW Nitro. We did play WCW NWO Revenge, but we borrowed it from a cousin's friend. And I love that game. I really loved it. WCW NWO Revenge. That was one of the best beat 'em up games on the N64. And I mean, like, as well as we bought F-Zero X, that was the sequel to F-Zero that was on the Super Nintendo. We would have bought, what else we bought? We would have bought. We borrowed Legends of Zelda Ocarina of Time from a friend that was on the N64, and my brother would eventually buy Legends of Zelda Majora's Mask. We would have been basically buying a lot of games. I think that was the last game that my brother bought for the N64, and after that, the N64 just was started to die out and everything because the PS2. Well, I forgot to tell you about the Dreamcast that we had ever since the Sega Saturn had died out. The first game we had Sonic Adventure.
I love that game. I have that on my GameCube. I like the DX version a lot better than the original Sonic Adventure because in DX you can play as Metal Sonic after you collect all the Sonic emblems,
Yeah.
and you can play missions. In the original Sonic Adventure 1, the Dreamcast version, you can never play missions. You can never play as Metal Sonic. It's stupid, you know?
Yes. And then we bought NFL Blitz 2000. That was during Christmas of 1999. We bought Sonic Adventure and NFL Blitz 2000. That was during Christmas 1999. We would later bought we would like it later bought other games that was on my 11th birthday, like Marvel. No, before my 11th birthday, my brother bought Power Stone. That was a launch game for the Dreamcast. Me and my brother played that days on end throughout the early summer of 2000. Then when my birthday came, my brother had bought me a Marvel vs. Capcom and Evolution. Those were two games that was on the Dreamcast, but unfortunately we did not play the sequel to Power Stone called Power Stone 2 nor Evolution Worlds, because I don't know why my brother didn't buy the two games, but we did play Marvel vs. Capcom 2 New Age of Heroes. Man, that game kicked it so much ass, bro. We loved it, those two games. We played those days on end until my brother eventually gave it away to some friend he was working with while he was working at Wendy's while he was like 17 years old, and then he would eventually bought a Dreamcast game called Resident Evil Code Veronica that had two disc game to like finish and stuff, and I mean, like, I would eventually watch my brother every night to play those games and stuff, and that would have been basically the last time. Well, I forgot to say that Sonic Adventure 2 that was on my 12th birthday, he bought Sonic Adventure 2. That was the last game that we bought for the Dreamcast, and after that the Dreamcast was dead.
Yeah. I hated Sonic Adventure 2 and / Adventure 2 Battles. I cannot beat the final story. Oh, hey, Flo, tell our viewers about that funny story about you and your brother in the lawnmower. I don't think I heard that yet.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to say that on that day when I met Dustin Nunn, my brother, however, when he was cutting the grass, the grass got stuck on the blade of the lawnmower. He was trying to get the grass out. He accidentally cut his finger, and that's when he started going into like raging and telling my mother about it, and blaming me for it, in which I had nothing to do of because I wasn't outside with him. He was cutting the grass by himself, in which I thought that was really, really funny.
Yeah, and by the way, speaking of Flowood, on that day when Flowood was laughing really hard, I don't think you guys seen that. Me and some buddies of his, what were your buddies' names? Pablo, Corey, and who else was there to hear you laugh?
It was just me, Dustin, and Pablo. The first time we were speaking on Uvo together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard you laughing so hard. I thought you were crying or something. Like, what the hell is this guy laughing about?
Yeah.
Did he watch something funny on YouTube, or what was it?
Nah, I was actually just laughing at my brother. Anyway,
he blamed you. Yeah, because he blamed you for the lawnmower crap.
Yeah.
But whatever you do when you're mowing, whatever mower you have, don't cut your fingers.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get back on topic. I was
right.
Yeah, cause I was Anyway, get back on topic. Like I was when the Dreamcast was dying, my brother would eventually buy the Nintendo GameCube for around 2002. We didn't buy it on launch day around the late 2001. It was always sold out and everything. The first games we would have buy was Super Smash Bros. Melee and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. We would only bought 4 games for the GameCube, and that was WrestleMania 18 and Super Mario Sunshine. And after that, We didn't buy any more games for the GameCube because it didn't have great games for it, and my brother was getting tired of playing those like them Trojan oriented games and everything. He wanted to move up to the next level if buying a PlayStation 2. So what we had to do was we had to we have to trade in all of our old systems, such sell all of our old systems such as the GameCube, the NES, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation, and all the games for them just to get that PlayStation 2. The first PS2
Right.
games that we
The,
had.
speaking of game, sorry to interrupt, but speaking of the GameCube, did you try out the Game Boy Player accessory for it?
No.
It's really awesome. It plays Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games on the big screen. It's pretty awesome. In order to make it work, you must have the boot up disc in order to make it work.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. And the systems I have here in my room currently right now are my GameCube and PlayStation 2. And downstairs I have a PS3. And I got bored of my old handheld, so I stick with my Nintendo 3DS. And I love this little thing. The games I have for my 3DS here are Street Fighter 4 3D Edition and Mario Kart 7. I love Mario Kart 7 because you can play as yourself in the game.
Yeah. So, for the handheld games part, we only played the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. We did not buy the Game Boy Advance because the handhelds, we wasn't really that much of a into handheld games anymore. We rather like play games on the major consoles and everything. Was what our main interest is. Like,
You mean the consoles on the TV, right?
yeah, but yeah, as we bought the PlayStation 2, we did not own the Xbox. I don't know why we did not buy the Xbox, because the PS2 and the Xbox was basically the same thing, same graphic games and stuff, and so on. Then throughout the years that we have, when my brother bought the PS2 in the early of 2003, we bought so many games throughout the 3 years of that generation, from 2003 to 2006. So that was 3 years since we had the PlayStation 2. Then eventually later on in 2006, September of 2006, me and my brother would trade in all the games that we had for the PlayStation 2 throughout those years to get an Xbox 360. We would have gotten Saints Row and Dead Rising for the Xbox 360 and the second controller, and we was playing the hell out of those two games. And then my brother would eventually buy sports games like NCAA 07, Madden 07, and then later on in 2006 he bought SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, Gears of War, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, which in my opinion I was getting so very hyped up on that game in summer 2006. I just wanted that game. I was hoping to get it on the PlayStation 3, but realized that it wasn't going to come onto the PS3 until January of 2007 later on. And that's when my brother, however, when we didn't start playing the 360 that much no more. We just only bought in a few games for the 360, and the last game that we bought for the 360 was Def Jam Icon. And then after that, my brother would eventually trade in the 360 to get the Wii, which the Wii was so much of a hype, but that was more like a family gaming console, which I thought, in my opinion, when it was first launched, everyone was buying that game, buying those systems constantly and everything. Then the favorite game that I liked it on the Wii, the first game my brother would eventually buy was Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. We did not buy the PlayStation 3 when it first launched. I forgot to say that. And then he would have bought Red Steel. That was one of my favorite games on the Wii. I love Red Steel. It was a gun shooting / sword fighting games that was like involving in Los Angeles and Tokyo and everything. Same as like Midnight Club 2 that was involved. Los Angeles, Paris, and Tokyo. Red Steel was one of the funnest games in my opinion on the Wii. Then he would eventually bought more games like this game called I forgot what this game called. About the shooting these small people. It's hard for me to keep up with the history of those games that was on the arcade and everything. That was I think it was called Crash Metal or something like that. I can't remember, but
Twisted Metal.
that was on a PlayStation. I'm talking
Oh,
about the games that was on the arcade. You play two people co-ops and start shooting up enemies and everything and big things. Uh, I don't know if you don't know what that game is. I played it before, but yeah. And then later on, I would have bought Bleach Shadow and Blade, and then I would have bought Super Smash Brothers Brawl for the Wii, cause I waited for that game for like years and years to come since I seen the trailer on YouTube and other websites and everything. My brother will eventually play the games with me too, and then right after that, the Wii started to die out for us, and that's when April 2008, I bought in the PlayStation 3 by myself with my own money. The first game I bought for the PlayStation 3 was SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. The reason why I wanted to buy the PS3 because Grand Theft Auto 4 was coming out around that time, and I had to get that game. I just had to get that game. I didn't want to miss
hey,
out.
speaking of PlayStation 3, what model do you have? Do you have the original fat model, the slim, or the super slim?
I have the original fat model. That's 40 gigabytes.
Mine's 250 gigs, super slim. Where it has the old-fashioned disc loader in it,
Yeah,
not the slot loader thing.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I seen it. Yeah, I have the original fat model that's 40 gigabytes, not 80 gigabytes, because 80 gigabytes that's backwards compatibility to play PS2 and PS1 games. Which people was complaining about, which I didn't really care for. Then 1 year later, I will rebuy the Xbox 360, and that was like 4 years ago. That was I bought the PS3 5 years ago and 360 4 years ago. I would eventually buy so much games for the PS3 and 360. So much. I was doing a lot of collecting. For new games, old
Yeah,
games that I never played. Just I was just straight up balling. I would eventually buy
right.
2, 3, and 4 games whatever I wanted to. I had so much fun buying all 4 games and everything. I just wanted to play them all. And then the favorite games that I loved on the PlayStation 3 was, I don't know if you know about this game. It's called Ryuga Gotoku, in Japan, dubbed in America as Yakuza. Yakuza 1 and 2 that was previously on the PlayStation 2. Yakuza 1 that was released back in September of 2006, which I know about that game but never played it, didn't know why. And Yakuza 2 that was released like almost 2 years later in September 2008. They was originally released in Japan before releasing in America. And I played all the games, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and the two spin-offs. That was Ryuga Gotoku Kenzen and Ryuga Gotoku of the End slash Yakuza Dead Souls. I love those games. My brother loved those games as well too. And my brother would eventually stay up with me every night to play all the games, and that's what got me into loving Asian culture in general with a passion. But I love good things about Asian culture, not bad things. Just to get the record straight, I'm namely loving the Japanese culture, and I also love Korean, Chinese culture, and everything so on as well. That's what mainly got me fully focusing and on to traveling the world and everything to want to see what it's like. But anyway, like, I would eventually play all those games. I still currently have the copies. Then after that, I was just my we would just like buy games on and off, and beat them, trade them in like to GameStop or something like that. But now, currently, I'm saving up for the next two console, and that's the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. And forgot to tell you, I got a Wii U. but we bought two games for the Wii U since when it was first released, like Assassin's Creed 3 and Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. We bought those two games, which it was all right and stuff. The Wii U was awesome when it's launched. Get on internet, YouTube, and so on like that. It's now as an HD platform of the 360 and PS3. So now, Dustin, what do you think about all the three eighth generation consoles? Let's start on the Wii U first before it was when it was released before the Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
Well, I never played the Wii U, but it looks awesome though. I think it's way better than the original Wii. Hey, speaking of the original Wii, did it have online play or did it not?
Yeah, it did have online play.
Hmm. Was it able to add friends?
Yeah, I think it did, which I never got online that much. But when we had the Wii, we would download virtual console classic games that it was on the NES, Super NES, and Sega Genesis and stuff. And as well,
Yeah.
for the Wii U goes, well, we don't have any current games for the Wii U right now. We already traded in two that we already beat. We're just using the Wii U mainly for the internet and stuff. I'm waiting on for the next Super Smash Brothers game that's coming out for the Wii U, and also on the 3DS, which I don't have a 3DS. I don't like handheld games. I just stick with main console games, major consoles.
Well, explain to me why you don't like the 3DS. Is it because it has poor online play or something, too much
Huh.
laggy stuff in it?
Nah, it's just I'm not really into handheld games. I don't like playing games on little screens and everything. I like to play games on the big screen and stuff. I'm not used of those type of graphics and everything. I'm used to like big screen high definition graphics. But I be seeing a lot of walkthroughs on YouTube. People don't be like using those. Well, some of them use those full screen game let's plays or gameplays on the videos. Some of them just put the camera right to the consoles and record, and we can just like barely see it. It doesn't really look right. Most people rather see it on a full screen, so they can see it very clearly instead of taking a camera recording of you playing it. It's just not right in my personal opinion. And as well as the new
Right.
consoles goes for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, I don't really care what anybody say. I know Xbox One is receiving so many negativity because I don't know, like the DMR restrictions and all that shit, not be able to play used games. But people needs to just most people really need to stop like living in the past. Well, even though that it can play used games, not everybody's happy for both consoles, for Xbox One and PS4 and everything. But I don't know why people are just bashing those two consoles. But I know at the end of the day they still gonna get them. Because I know in their mind they do not want to miss out on the new generation of games. Because you should take a look at those graphics. You seen those graphics, how they look?
Well, the PS4 graphics?
Both of them, Xbox One and PS4.
No, I haven't seen them. No.
Yeah.
Speaking of Xbox 360, I like the only thing I like about the 360 is the controller because it's so comfortable and snug. It gets really good in your hands. But the one thing I hate about the 360, which I don't own and never did own, is that you have to pay money to play online. But on the PS3, you can play online for free, and that's great.
Hmm. Yeah, but
Xbox 360, that's a ripoff.
yeah, and as well for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 and stuff, I'm definitely saving money to get those two consoles. I don't care what anybody say. They can rant, rave on those two consoles all they
Right.
want, but at the end of the day, they're still getting them, and I know they're still getting them, and they're gonna eventually be on YouTube, and that's what so-called they're hypocrites. But how did we ask you something?
Speaking of the Xbox One, reason why that's being bashed is because speaking of Xbox One, this YouTuber by the name of WWE TNA for Life, who does Monday Night Raw and SmackDown TNA reviews and all that, he was complaining about the Xbox One, and he said that Microsoft focuses on the the, the games, not the features of it or whatever. Not what was it? It doesn't focus on games. It focuses on like movies and stuff like that. But I prefer PlayStation instead of Microsoft because I'm a PlayStation freak for life. Because I grew up playing all-time greats. I played Sega, Sony, and Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah, but let me ask you this, Dustin. Are you getting the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4?
I'm not buying any more online gaming consoles because I'm tired of people making fun of me online because I'm autistic. And for those of you YouTubers that don't know what autism is, that's a learning disability. And both me and Flowwood here have autism spectrum disorder. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with cyberbullying because, for example, when I played one of my wrestling games, Legends of WrestleMania, I got picked on a lot online after I kissed some butt online. I was on those triple threat matches, and I was playing against these two players named I Am the Man 27 and K-Rod 2113, and I kicked both their asses in a triple threat match, and they got mad at me and one of them called me an autistic bastard, and I hated that remark. I mean, when I go online on a gaming console, I go on there to have fun, not trash talk people. That's just dumb. Because I want people to visit my website, dustinunn.com, and order my merchandise that I make, and people are just jerks to me. They don't want to pay attention to a guy like me, and it hurts me really badly, And I just don't want to buy any more gaming consoles. I just like to stick with the PS3 because it's my number one favorite PlayStation online gaming console. And not only can you play online, you can also watch movies like DVDs, Blu-ray discs, and listen to music CDs.
The Xbox One will have that. Well, the Xbox 360 don't play Blu-ray discs. It just play DVDs and everything. And the one thing that's great about the PlayStation 3, that is region free. That way, you know about region free, that means you can play games from other countries such as like Europe, Japan, and other countries, and that's the reason why I gotten a few Japanese games on the PlayStation 3. And that's the one thing that's great about the PS3, but the 360 does not play any other country games. It's not region free. That's the one thing I like about the PS3. It's region free. So
speaking of Capcom, the creators of Mega Man and Street Fighter, are you familiar with Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter Cross Tekken?
Yeah.
Have you ever played with an arcade stick?
No, I didn't.
Well, this one I have right now, currently, that my dad ordered for me, it sucks. It feels cheap, but it costs expensive. It feels cheap when you play it. It has a circular gate and not a square one, which means, for example, if you're playing as a charge type character like Guile, for example, you know those flash kicks he does?
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to perform a flash kick. I do what the diagram says and in the control commands menu on Street Fighter 4, and it will not let me perform Guile's moves. I only stick with my favorite characters like Ken, Cody, Guy, Ryu, Evil Ryu, and any other type of easy type character. And my number one favorite female fighter is Sakura.
Yeah.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like Sakura too. I've been dying to play on Street Fighter games since I was playing Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2. I didn't play the Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. That was on the PC. I did not play Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. I did not play the Street Fighter EX games. I played Street Fighter Alpha, Alpha 2, Alpha 3. Those were three of my favorite Street Fighter games of all time. Was Street Fighter 4, Super Street Fighter 4. They were alright games, but it was just basically the same. As well as Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Me and my brother thought Tekken. Me and my brother thought about getting that game, but based on the poor mediocre reviews that it had and the gameplay footage and everything that we seen, we just changed our mind and everything. And Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was is a great game, but it doesn't have a lot of characters from the previous game, like the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and 1, you know. And yeah, because Capcom been like slacking lately, lacking by making games and stuff, because financial problems wise and everything,
Yeah.
a lot of people been bashing it since
And
then.
speaking of Marvel versus Capcom, that one called Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom, the Ultimate version for the PS3 and 360, and for the first time ever, you can play as Ghost Rider, and I love Ghost Rider. I have the Ghost Rider movie, the first one.
Yeah,
I saw the second one, and it's crap. It's nothing like. It's not as good as the first movie. I have Ghost Rider, Fantastic Four on DVD. What else? And The Incredible Hulk. I like the first Hulk movie a lot better. The one with Edward Norton in it. It's dumb
yeah.
because Sam Elliott in the first movie played as General Ross. In the second film, somebody else plays as Ross. Way to ruin a good movie, huh?
I guess I didn't see neither the first and the second movie of Ghost Rider, but I'll just see it sometime, whenever I have the feel into it.
Yeah. And speaking of Ghost Rider, what I don't get is that okay, Marvel animated cartoon creators did cartoon versions of Hulk, Spider-Man, and X-Men, right? Well, and Fantastic Four, right? Well, apparently, in some episodes of X-Men and the Incredible Hulk, Ghost Rider guest stars, and nobody did full episodes and series of Ghost Rider. They were focused on their favorite characters like Spider-Man, the Hulk, and among others.
Well, yeah, but I didn't really see too much of that, but I've seen the movies like Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Iron Man 2. I heard Iron Man 3 was crap. Cause I heard.
Have you seen Spider-Man 3 before?
Yeah, I did. I seen all of them. I seen the Amazing Spider-Man. I seen the Avengers. The Avengers, in my point of view, is so awesome. I love the Avengers.
Mm. Yeah, and what else? Before I got into fighting games like Street Fighter, I played my favorite fighting game of all time was Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1. And when they started ruining the popular game by making sequels to spin-offs like Budokai 2, 3, Burst Limit, and among others, I quit playing Dragon Ball and just stuck with Street Fighter for a while. And my favorite opponent to go against in Street Fighter is this big fat guy named Rufus, and every time you knock him out, he'll go, "Oh crap!" And the funny thing is, when you play as Cody from Final Fight, and if after you knock out Rufus, or any other type of character, Cody will walk away and say, "Geez, you suck, man." Oh, I love that line. You suck,
Yeah.
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 I like Cody because he's well balanced.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. I liked it. I like also. I liked it. Budokai 1. Budokai 1 was one of the favorite games for the PlayStation 2, and me and my brother would play it. We also played Budokai 2 and Budokai 3. But the one thing we hated about those two games, the second and third one, is that the second one is basically playing on a board game or something like that. It's a story mode, and the third one is just when you basically fly around the world. I like the cutscenes, that was from the anime, the series, and everything. That's what make the game more and more awesome and stuff like that.
Right. And speaking of the first Budokai, my favorite feature of all time was where you can collect those things called breakthrough capsules that you collect all 7 Dragon Balls to summon the dragons, either Purunga or Shenron. And so for those of you that don't know what breakthrough capsules are capsules from Capsule Corporation that help you use all your character's moves. Like, for example, Goku's moves, all Trunks' moves, Vegeta, Gohan, and among other characters as well. I like Goku and Trunks. My favorite version of Trunks is the one from the future that traveled back in time to warn Goku about the androids and Cell.
Future Trunks.
Yeah. Yeah, and my favorite part was where Future Trunks told Goku who his parents were, and Goku freaked out and said, "Bulma's your mother?" And what got me laughing was where Vegeta said that guy pointed Trunks pointed his finger at Kakarot, and Kakarot fell down. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Dragon Ball Z saga of all time?
But my personal favorite saga I had to go with is the Android saga. I like the Android saga.
I like them all. I like the Saiyan, Frieza, Android, and Majin Buu saga. And I never got to see all of GT yet.
Well, the GT we seen the GT. We hated GT, even though we recorded all the episodes that when we had the VCR back there, we recorded all the episodes. Man, GT was crap. It was so crap. I liked it.
But did you like where Goku became a Super Saiyan 4?
Yeah, the only thing I liked about it was when Goku and Vegeta went Super Saiyan 4. But the one thing I hated is that Goku stayed a kid throughout the entire series.
Yeah, what happened was Emperor Pilaf from the very first original Dragon Ball, where Goku met Bulma and the others as a kid, as when he was a little boy, after he found out his true Saiyan heritage. Think of Goku as Superman / Clark Kent / Kal-El. Remember, see, Goku is a Saiyan and Superman is Kryptonian.
Yeah.
Right. Well, anyway, my favorite, let's see, I also get a kick out of Roshi because he's perverted and he likes to flirt with the young ladies, but he's old enough to be somebody's grandfather.
Yeah.
And speaking of Dragon Ball, are you familiar with Dragon Ball Evolution, the movie?
I never seen that, but I know it got mediocre reviews.
It is mediocre because in a movie somewhere when Goku becomes a were-monkey, that's what I call a giant monkey, Uzaru, were-monkey, I call it a were-monkey. Well, anyway, remember how when Goku always changed into a giant monkey, his clothes rip and he gets really giant,
Yeah.
Well, in Evolution, Goku becomes a were-monkey in Goku's clothing.
Yeah.
And he transforms differently. He does the monkey tail does not show in the movie, I don't think. He transforms differently. But like in the original Dragon Ball, Piccolo's the bad guy, as always, before he turned good. I never got to see all the rest of the original Dragon Ball sagas, but I've seen all of Z. I've seen all the sagas like Saiyan, Namek, Android, and Majin Buu. But and GT was pretty okay to me, but I don't like Dragon Ball Z anymore because they ruined Z because they made a Kai version of it. And never seen Dragon Ball Z Kai before?
I've seen a few episodes.
Yeah, well, they ruined it. It's a ruined version of Dragon Ball Z, and it's where Kid Gohan's voice is ruined, and the script throughout all the sagas is rewritten. And the characters say different things instead of the original Funimation dub. The original uncut versions. Well, anyway, in Kai, there's no blood and gore. It's too kid-friendly.
Yeah, that used to come
remember how? Yeah. Remember how when WWE turned from TV-14 to PG and it got too kid-friendly, and you don't see blood anymore. All you see is just basically chair shots to the back and legs and everything, not to the head.
Yeah, and as well as Dragon Ball Z Kai goes, I've seen a few episodes. My brother didn't like it as well. I didn't really care too much for it, because it's just basically I don't know what to really say on it, but it's just they just completely ruined everything about Kai that wasn't really in the original Dragon Ball Z, like the original remastered dub. We like the original remastered dub better than the Kai, and it's been coming on.
And speaking of DBZ Kai, here's something else that's been ruined. 2 sagas were taken out. The Garlic Jr. saga is missing, and you're missing the Majin Buu saga.
Yeah, I read up on.
I
read up online. I read up online that said that they was going to bring out Majin Buu saga, but then But they never announced when though.
What website did you read about that on?
I just Google it, and I just typed it up on Google, and read it on Wikipedia saying that the Majin Buu saga was coming, but I didn't really. But they never made any further announcements or anything like that. I don't even know if it's on TV.
Yeah. What are your favorite Dragon Ball Z movies of all time?
The favorite Dragon Ball Z movie that I personally love was History of Trunks.
Oh, I like that one. My favorite movies are History of Trunks, BoJack Unbound, really the legendary Super Saiyan, really Second Coming, Bio Broly, Cooler's Revenge, The Return of Cooler, you know, where he's Metal Cooler and he faces Goku and Vegeta on Namek. And I have Wrath of the Dragon, where they meet Tapion and Minosha, and Hirudegarn and Hoi. And I also have Fusion Reborn, where Goku and Vegeta become Gogeta and face Janemba
Yeah. So
in the afterlife.
yeah. So does anything you need to say before we close this show?
Yeah, and by the way, speaking of Twitter, I don't use that site anymore. It's shit because it does not. Twitter is nothing like Facebook, because on Twitter it does not give you enough letter characters to type in. So, and you have following limits on there too. So just follow me on Facebook. My name on there is just like here in Uvu. Conversation with me and Flowwood. It's Dustin Allen Nunn, as DustinAllanNunn. My website is DustinNunn.com if you want to visit my website or my book, Dustin and Darling, which is the very first comic book. And if you want to watch my videos, feel free to go onto my YouTube. My name on YouTube is Cartoon Kid 1988, and you'll find me on there. And the link to my YouTube is in Flowwood's description box. Isn't that right, buddy?
Yes.
And before I get off here, I just want to say, when you're online, please be careful not to get cyberbullied. There's a lot of jerks online like to make fun of you, whether you're disabled or not, and it's not cool.
Yes.
So anyway, this is Flowwood and Cartoon Kid signing off. Peace to y'all, and take care. Have fun playing video games. Have fun watching wrestling. Have fun watching WWE, TNA, Lucha Libre, whatever it is you want to watch. Have fun. Take care of yourselves, and see you later some other time.